as Kenyans in Egypt. Thank you so much. The major concern that we have is labor. As I was saying, if that is worked upon, and Kenyans time to time can be offering of African East passports, which will allow all and territories. I believe it is possible. If Africa, with that, our Honorable, we are sure, remember that we are here to work and earn a living. By uniruhusu na uruhusu sisi wote kwa pamoja tuibe.
Diaspora, the reason why we are here. Mjamboni. We've had conversations with the diaspora from about 3 o'clock, and we were able to listen to accepted to grace our event. We are very excited to have you. And
tunataka Mheshimiwa Rais atuhutubie na hivi karibuni, na ndio kwa sababu unaona tumeshikwa kidogo, sio kwa. Asante sana. Na yule pale ni Bwana Odinga. Kwa hivyo sina mengi,
so that those of you who have the privilege to work for our community is a very important component of Kenya. Wote, wazazi wenu, marafiki zenu, ndugu zenu na Wakenya wote, asanteni sana. We're going to Egypt, and to make it easier for you to interact with the government of Kenya, the department dedicated to diaspora affairs, to our agreement with Austria, and we needed to conclude the final bit for the government of Kenya. I am sure Cabinet Secretary and his team wimbo ni wimbo wa uzalendo wa taifa letu. Jessica, about let me tell you 2 or 3. Silver, oil, all of them put together. It is our human resource. And because we have that, men and women to teach them. Number 2, there is now greater coherence, understanding, synergy, and significant, and that is very important. Point number 2, because I told you labor.
Mwendo, tutalinda katiba mpya. Anayependa Kenya ni yule mwenye kupenda haki yote. Mwenye kupenda haki. Na ukipenda Kenya ujitengane na mambo yenye kuvunja amani. Hatutaki matata Kenya. Kwenye nchi Kenya kipenzi chetu. Hatutaiacha milele daima.
For Kenyans to work across the world, it's very important that we have the right quality of education and training. If there is one resource we have as a country that is more precious than any mineral, it is more precious than gold, silver, oil, all of them put together. It is our human resource. We have a culture of hard work. Kenyans, wherever they are, and I have been to many countries. I have been to many countries in Africa. I have been to many countries in Europe, America, and the quality of Kenyan human capital, the quality of Kenyan labor is outstanding. Every president I meet, they tell me Kenyans require the least supervision in what they do. And because we have that single most important resource, human capital, we must do two things. Number one, we must sharpen it. And the way to sharpen our human resource is to make sure that we get the correct education and training. It is the reason why when I came into office, the first thing I did was to appoint a presidential task force to assess our education, because we were having very serious challenges about CBC. Parents were not sure what's going to happen. We had challenges with numbers of teachers. We had challenges with funding in our education, in our higher education. In fact, almost 23 universities were declared bankrupt by 2022. So it was very necessary for us to look at our education. The recommendations that were made by the Presidential Task Force made by Professor Munavu have given us the opportunity as government to implement a comprehensive program. Number one, to be able to reduce the gap of teachers. We have hired an unprecedented 76,000 teachers today to make sure that our children in school have men and women to teach them. Number two, we have aligned our competence-based curriculum appropriately. In fact, we are completing the transition next year to grade 10. That means that there is now greater coherence, understanding, synergy, and parents now understand what's going to happen next. And thirdly, our new funding model has now made all the universities that were almost collapsing, that were almost bankrupt, now they are standing on their feet, and we can confidently train Kenyans so that they can explore opportunities both at home and, like yourselves, abroad. The second issue is to make sure that the training we give to our human capital, the millions of children we take through school. And for your information, we added close to 120 billion Kenya shillings to the budget of education. We are now spending 650 billion shillings every year for the teaching, training of our children from ECD through primary, through secondary, through the TVETs to our universities. That is important. And we must make sure that all that money we are spending every year, we must also think about what will happen to the people who graduate. What will happen to the people who get out of school, who get out of college, who get out of university? We must have a plan for them, how we are going to use the talents we have trained, the knowledge they have gained, the education they have acquired in rolling the wheels of our development and contributing to the economy of Kenya. Today, because of the housing plan, we have created 250,000 jobs as I talk to you. And we are not only creating jobs, we are creating decent livelihoods, we are creating a robust market infrastructure, and we are making a difference in securing land for our agricultural production by avoiding land fragmentation. If you look at the Kenya Kwanza Manifesto, housing was a priority. If you look at the Azimio Manifesto, housing was a priority. If you look at the NAC Manifesto, housing was a priority. If you look at the Jubilee Manifesto, housing was a priority. But it hasn't been easy to implement that housing. It is this administration that we have bitten the bullet, and I promise you we are going to change Kenya with housing. And many Kenyans sometimes think it's possible everywhere except in Kenya. I am telling you, I will make sure it is possible in Kenya. And it's already happening. It is already happening in our country. And it is because we must create jobs. And you know, sometimes when I talk about it this way, people are saying, oh, you know, the president wants people to go and work in construction site. Let me ask you, there is no other place for an architect to work. Mtu ambaye amesomea architecture hana kazi ingine, kazi yake iko kwa construction site. Engineer na degree yake is useless until he shows up in a construction site. Kwani mtu architect ukichora hata kama uko na degree na uchore itafanyika kwa karatasi. Si lazima mpaka uende kwa ground ndio hiyo nyumba ionekane kama iko ama hakuna. So all these people, whether they are engineers, whether they are architects, quantity surveyors, interior designers, plumbers and electricians and technologists and all these people. And we are training millions of them every day in our TVETs and our universities. Apart from the people working in our housing and industrialization space and those who are working outside Kenya, we have now rolled out a big program under the Ministry of ICT on digital jobs. We have so many companies across the world who are looking for Kenyans to work for them. Not to work for them in their countries, but to work for them from Kenya. What we are calling business process outsourcing. The largest business process outsourcing company in the world has just opened an office in Kenya so that we can get many Kenyans working. For those of you who follow, if you go to Tatu City, for example, we now have almost 15,000 people working for American companies from Tatu City under that arrangement. And we are rolling out that process and providing infrastructure so that more of our young people who are getting out of school can work in these business process outsourcing places so that many of them can get jobs and they can be meaningfully engaged.